It's not the end of the world when the colors on your pictures fade, as they will inevitably over time. With Photoshop, you can bring that picture back to life. DV Garage's Alex Lindsay's here to demonstrate with a photo. This is from a viewer.
It is.
This is a neat photo. It looks like a Civil War era photo.
Yeah, this is
or maybe World War I can't tell.
This is 1890. It's actually I think it's a marching band.
Oh, it's a band. I thought those were guns.
So this was here. Let me.
That's how faded it is.
Yeah, no, you have no idea what
tell.
it is, and this is what happens. I mean, you know, these old photos. I mean, the film eventually starts to fade out, and it fades unevenly. So it's not just a simple, straightforward thing to figure out.
Well, now it's something that's not going to be a problem with digital images. However, a lot of our history is on printed stocks.
Exactly, and this is from, I think, Zach Swap. Is that right?
Okay.
Zach Swap from Slippery Rock.
Zach Swope from Slippery Rock, Pennsylvania.
I'm only excited about Slippery Rock because it's 45 minutes from my own hometown. When I had to call him to find out if we could do this, I was like, "Are you really from Slippery Rock?"
And so, did you catch up on old times?
Yeah, we were bouncing back and forth.
The drive-in's gone, isn't it?
What?
Yeah.
The drive-in is gone. There's now a Walmart there. You know, I don't know if there's Walmart.
No, we're just kidding.
But somewhere nearby. So anyway,
so how do we? You can't. Now you've told me and you taught me and I've learned that if the information isn't there, you can't recover it. So if it fades to the degree where there's nothing there, we're dead, right?
Yeah, but a lot of times, just because it's faded in an overall color image, there's still information hidden there. You can see little hints of it up in the edges.
Yeah, there's
still a little bit there that we can try to extract back out of the photo.
Wow, you think there'll be enough to fix it?
Well, only one way to find out.
Let's try.
All right. So
levels, curves.
Eventually. Right. But we have to do a couple pre-processing pieces to get that set up. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to actually go through the channels and just take a look. Now the red is really blown out. The green is a little bit better.
How do you know? Because it looked yellow to me, not red or green.
Well, now I'm going through the individual color channels that describe. So what?
And there is no yellow. There's red, green, and blue.
Right, and they're just different mixtures of those. And because it's yellow, it means it tells us there's probably a lot of red and green in it, which is why they're so white. So now, if we go to blue, there's a lot more detail. It's better.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lot better than our other options. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy that blue. I'm just going to hit Command A and then Command C, or Control A and Control C if you're on a PC. And then I'm going to create a new layer and just paste that in. Okay. So now I have this new layer with that.
That's just the blue.
Right. Now, if you look at the whole image, I'm going to back up a little bit here. What you're going to notice is that it's better, but we still have a lot of fading on the outside edges here.
Yeah, we may never get that back.
But
really?
We have. Okay, now people are going to have to listen really carefully here. Okay, and I described this pretty explicitly on the web.
Yeah, so don't be scribbling notes like a mile a minute. You can find it.
But you have to listen to this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to correct the image with itself. Okay.
You're going to correct the image with, I feel like Karnak.
I'm putting it to work.
You're going to correct the image with itself. How do you do that? Well, let's see.
So I'm going to duplicate the layer.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to blur it, okay?
Duplicate it, then blur
I'm going to use a Gaussian blur.
Oh, old Mr. Gauss is back again.
That's our best friend. Okay, now, right now, it doesn't look like we improved it. But what we've actually done is we've eliminated all the fine detail that we want to keep, but we have started to, and let me just increase the contrast here for a second. When I turn this contrast up, I'm just using the levels here. We're not going to use this, but when you see this is an exaggerated version. This is like a topological map of the lighting overall over the photo. So where it was blown out along the edges, you can see it white, and in the center where it wasn't, it's black.
So we need this to make it even out, I would guess. Yes?
Exactly. We need to use.
We need to know where the peaks and valleys are.
Right, and we don't want to use this as an adjustment. What we want to do is I'm going to cancel that. I'm going to invert it.
Okay.
Okay.
Because that's where we want dark in the bright and bright in the dark.
Exactly. Go the opposite way, and then I'm going to use a layer blending called overlay. Now, what overlay does is where it's gray, it doesn't do anything. Where it's black, it darkens it, and where it's bright, it lightens it.
Got it.
So it pushes it both ways with that inverse. And if we look at it before and after, you can see.
Well, you really brought up a lot of detail. Yeah.
You can see how, especially along the edges,
we've seen trees. I didn't even know there were trees back there.
Yeah, exactly. So we've brought out a lot of information with
really amazing.
With that one little filter.
Okay.
Now what we're going to do here.
So why did the Gaussian blur work on that?
Because what we did
averaged it out a little bit.
It averaged it all out so that we weren't dealing with all. Because if we did that without the blur, we'd be eliminating their hats and and all the details.
So you want
and everything
to smooth it out.
We just want just the overall changes. So now what we're going to do is we'll finally do our final correction, which is we'll bring out the curves.
Now we have the curves.
There we go. So we bring out our scalpel.
I tried to use this the other day, and I just made a hash of it.
Yeah, you just have to.
I just made a hash of it.
what we're going to do is by bringing this up, we're increasing the contrast.
Look at that. Look at that.
Now,
there's quite a bit more detail.
Yeah, and we can play with, let me get rid of this one. Hold on, this one didn't work. But you can see that now I went a little too far. You know, I can play with.
That's the nice thing about curves is you can really see it change.
Right, and so you can see that we brought out a lot more detail to it.
Yeah.
Let me bring this down just a little bit.
Zach's going to be loving this.
So there you go. So now if we look at what we had before.
Oh, what a difference.
And after.
Wow.
And the thing to know is that if you look up here, there's some blurred areas. That's actually probably in the photo. When they shot these photos in 1890,
they couldn't move.
You had to stand really, really still. It's kind of like shooting in an evening shot with a digital camera. Everyone has to stand really still. And so these guys were probably
a little moving
a little bit. So that's probably was already there.
They put little headrests behind people so that their heads wouldn't move.
Exactly.
Because it's a minute or two exposure.
Sometimes.
Look at this kid. He's not happy at all.
He's like, what the? And these are.
I love this. This is so great.
And then you can go back and use some of the other stuff we've talked about in the past, like the healing tool or whatever, to get some of these little dots out, and you know, you've got a couple little flakes.
Yeah, from a Civil War regiment to a band of boys, a musical band, we've really amazingly brought this to life. That is incredible. Zach must be so happy. Now, how did he scan this in, and what would your recommendations be for scanning something like this to give you the most chance to make it save?
The one thing that made it easy for me is that Zach sent it to me as a TIFF file,
not compressed JPEG.
Yeah, because when you start pushing the colors as hard as I did here, you start seeing that compression come out, like we talked about last week.
Yeah.
So
did he scan it at 1200 DPI, 600?
It's not so much DPI, but he gave me about I think it was about 1,000 pixels by 500 pixels, which is a little smaller. I mean, like if we wanted to go back and print it, it would be a little hard.
Right.
The TIFF image meant that I had enough color information that I could work with.
So it doesn't matter. The resolution when you're working with it isn't the key thing.
The DPI is
that
not
doesn't
really,
matter. That's only when you're printing that becomes an issue.
Well, even then, what you're really looking for is how many pixels by how many pixels. You want the raw number of pixels.
Got it.
Now, when you're scanning, a lot of times your scanner will say, 5 by 7 inches.
Right.
And then 300 DPI will
multiply
that to 1,500 by to about 2,100.
And that's sufficient?
That's great.
Okay.
So if you do a 5 by 7 scan at 300 DPI, you'll get about what would be close to 2048 by 1536, which is like a 3 megapixel camera.
8 by 10. What do you want to do it at? Maybe 600 DPI or?
Well, if you increase the DPI at 8 by 10, now you get this huge file.
I made a 700 megabyte file. And Photoshop was not happy.
You can do it. You just have to get one of those G5s with an 8 gigs of RAM.
We'll figure it out in a minute. Beautiful job. And Zach, I would love to know more about the history of this. Is this his grandfather, great-grandfather? But what a great picture. And now you can see, look at the detail. You really can see some of the kids.
Yeah.
That's just wonderful. For more on how to use Photoshop to bring back those old faded memories, I could have used this tip last week. I was fixing up some pictures for some friends. Swing by our website, techtv.com/call4help, blowing up to 13 by 19. And then it was her 50th birthday party, and we put them on the wall. It was so much fun. Oh, and they were old, not this old, but they were old pictures.
Right.
And faded. That's just great stuff. You know, when you come back for the Call for Help-a-thon, well, can we do this with some more pictures?
Send them in.
People could send them in during the Help-a-thon.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we'll make them do it live. Coming up.